Requiem aeternum dona eis Domine, et lux perpetua lucet eis. Te decet hymnus Deus in Sion, et tibi redetur votum in Jerusalem. Exaudi orationem meam, ad te omni caro veniet. Per eundem Christum Dominum nostrum. Amen.
Brother Leonardo, wait a moment. The abbot awaits you in his office.
Oh, very well.
Is that your way of solving a murder? By eliminating the possibilities, one after the other? Tell me, Leonardo, how many more monks will have to die at my abbey before you find the one who is responsible?
Umberto died because he knew something. Something he didn't want to tell me.
And what could a simple translator like him be hiding?
A simple translator, you say? A simple monk has already killed two simple brothers whose only thing in common is, strangely enough, the library.
Since Anselmo was killed.
We don't know the reasons for his death yet.
And what about Godfrey? Well, naturally, the possibilities always exist that he fell victim to a rare disease that split his skull in the dead of night in a house that is part of the cemetery. And it could have been a coincidence that Umberto got caught up in his own belt sash. But could it also be that there was a demon in the library, couldn't it?
What kind of abbey is this, in which the Holy Inquisition is received by a servant?
Nazario of Milan! What a provident surprise! Our most cordial welcome to these hallowed halls, and may peace be with you!
As always, it is a great pleasure to enjoy the peace and harmony of this monastery. My dear Segundo, how time flies.
Master, it is a great pleasure for me to see you again.
I see that you have prospered since our paths parted ways.
How true, Master. I am now prior of this abbey.
Oh, now that is truly a surprise. My good friend Leonardo de Toledo. I haven't seen you since... when? It could be since they banished you from the court of...
They didn't banish me. I was the one who decided to leave.
That's not the story being told in the palace.
Vindictive souls have always spread rumors in the palace.
Is that so? Oh, I see the two brothers have left our midst. I deeply regret your loss.
That is precisely what I wish to talk to you about in private. It's a lucky thing you're here. If you'll join me.
Consider yourself off the case, brother. Your services were a great help, at least to me.
What are you trying to say?
Are you deaf? Didn't you hear what I just finished saying?
It is my duty to reveal who the murderer is, no matter what anyone says.
Brother Leonardo, you've spent 3 days at this abbey, and up to now, what results have we obtained? Not one. Our brothers continue to be murdered.
I can prove that this doesn't deal with a phantom, as everyone else so readily believes.
Forget it. What you believe or not is not important. Absolutely nothing is important anymore.
But
I'll tell you once again that it's no longer important. The Holy Inquisition has arrived, and as you know, no one has more authority to solve this mystery than they do.
as a result of the methods used by the Holy Inquisition? Are you sure of that?
What? Are you questioning the legitimacy of the Inquisition? Have you gone stark raving mad?
I know exactly what I'm talking about.
We have nothing further to discuss. I shall make sure that all the brothers are informed of the new situation. Goodbye.
What now?
Do you recall the pentagram we saw last night? We must find out what it deals with, what function it has, and what purpose it serves.
No, I meant... Master, they've taken us off the case.
Which means what?
Master, we can't just put ourselves above the will of the Holy Inquisition.
Then we'll put ourselves at its side. Come on, we're going to look for information about that pentagram.
We'll be punished for that. And who knows, it could turn out to be even worse.
If we manage to prevent a new death that way, I'll take the risk. Let's go. Hello, Martin.
Goodness, you scared me half to death.
I'm sorry, brother. It wasn't my intention to startle you.
No, I suppose not. I have to go, brother.
Aren't you cooking today?
I must relieve Brother Egidio in the refectory, just like yesterday.
I'd like to ask you a few questions.
I'm sorry. I have no time at all.
I thought that life at the Abbey was relaxed enough to be able to do without chaos and stress.
It would be if 3 brothers hadn't died in 1 week. And above all, if the Holy Inquisition itself weren't waiting at the door. If you'll allow me, brother, you know where you can find me.
Are you feeling all right?
Yes, Brother Leonardo. Yes.
Do you know who might have something to do with occultism at this Abbey?
With what? For God's sake, Brother Leonardo, what are you talking about?
What? Occultism? So you know, don't you?
What am I supposed to know?
The devil has been lingering at this abbey for quite some time. What did you think caused the death of those 2 brothers, young man? That's not all. We're all going to end up that way. Egidio! Egidio!
What?
When you're finished with that, dig a few more graves. We're all going to die. Tell me, youngster, wouldn't you like to be buried here? There's still space left, huh? There's space aplenty.
I'm going to find the killer, Nicholas. The end is near.
They've taken you off the gate, Brother Leonardo? Why do you keep going on?
Out of respect for the truth, and because I gave you my word.
But you gave your word to the abbot, and he's the one who has decided to do without your services, now that the Inquisition's here.
The Inquisition has barely arrived, and is not in any position to solve these murders. What's more, my work during the last few days was not in vain.
You just don't understand, do you?
I do understand that whoever has done all this will have to pay.
Whatever you say, I don't know. As you like.
I'm off, Nicholas.
Yes, that's quite all right.
Aren't you supposed to be keeping an eye on Clotilde?
Do we know each other? Didn't I see you at the funeral, young man?
Can I ask you a few questions?
The youngster has some questions, and Brother Arcadio has some answers. Ask. Ask away.
Do you know about the dark practices going on at the Abbey?
We're monks, young man, not saints. The whole world.
No, I wasn't referring to.
Ah. You mean dark practices, eh?
Yes. Rituals. Pagan ceremonies.
Rituals and pagan ceremonies, eh? This abbey is full of secrets, youngster.
Does that mean yes?
I seem to recall a brother who died a tragic death, and on the third day his body returned to life. Tell me, Sonny, doesn't that seem strange enough to you?
Not if one has read Matthew.
Brother Arcadio, stop! Enough of that!
Quiet, you.
Jesus!
Right. Jesus. That was his name.
Do you suspect someone?
Brother Leonardo, Arcadia is not going to tell us anything useful. In the end, I'm sure he's going to confuse you even more than you already are.
I'm not confusing anybody.
Tell me, do you suspect someone?
I don't, but Clotilde does. What's more, we shouldn't talk here, youngster. Walls have ears.
But there's no walls.
Wait for me in the garden. I'll come right away.
Don't listen to him, Brother Leonardo. He's senile.
I'm not senile. I'm older than all of you. I'm the wise man of the Abbey.
All right already.
There is nothing more for the moment.
I'm going to finish my prayers for poor Nicholas.
Brother, I'm Nicholas.
What's that?
That I'm Nicholas. You must pray for Gottfried and Umberto.
Ah.
Brother?
Hey, young man. Leave the boy in peace. He has a lot of work to do. Don't you know that we had a funeral?
Brother Arcadio, please.
What's going on? What's going on?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a few questions, Egidio.
I think you've asked too many questions already.
You're burying two of your brothers. Don't you think we need answers for all of this?
The Inquisition has arrived. They'll have answers for anything under the sun.
Yes, even for those obtained by coercion.
What do you mean by that?
That my methods of investigation aren't as brutal as theirs.
I haven't done a thing.
But that won't suffice. Not for them, Egidio.
I have nothing to hide.
Egidio,
Again?
did you see anything strange last night?
No. I didn't see a thing.
Are you sure?
And just what am I supposed to have seen?
Could be Godfrey's ghost following you.
Shut your trap, Brother Arcadio.
It wouldn't be the first time.
Don't listen to him, Brother Leonardo. He's senile.
The fact is, he seems to be in complete possession of his faculties from time to time. Please, don't stop. That doesn't work. It's locked. Arcadio told me that I should wait for him here. I hope he has something important to say. I don't see anything special about it. I went to the garden, but you didn't come.
What are you telling me, young man?
You said to me that you were going to tell me about your suspicions in the garden.
Oh? I couldn't have. I don't remember. Suspicions of what?
Relating to the deaths of Gottfried and Umberto.
Oh my God. Have they died? What a tragedy. In that case, I'll stay right here and pray for them.
I really think you ought to come and meet me. If the garden doesn't seem discreet enough for you, I'll see you in my cell.
What? Oh, yes, but don't let yourself be confused by the demon. This abbey is full of demons, and they hear everything we say.
Precisely, Brother Arcadio. Precisely my point.
Youngster? Ah, the little boy.
I see you've finally come.
Yes? I have to protect myself in this cell, don't I? Didn't you know? There's a murderer in the Abbey, and he wants to kill me to get his hands on my treasure.
Ah, I see.
Yes, but he wouldn't dare come in here. I'm safe here. Leave me alone. Out! Get out!
Bruno, we're going out for a moment, and leave Brother Arcadio here alone with his lunacy.
What's going on, Master?
It's obvious that Brother Arcadio is keeping something from us. On the other hand, he might also want to tell us something. We'll see. Bruno, stay near the doorway. It would be better.
Yes, Master.
You've finally come by yourself, Leonardo. I'm glad that you've understood how to interpret my signals correctly.
They were much too clear for a senile mind, that's certain. Though I must admit, you've had me confused ever since we met.
I regret that I couldn't be frank with you this afternoon, but I have to be very careful.
Rest easy, brother. No one is going to interrupt us, and I give you my word that nothing you say to me will ever leave these four walls. For my part, it's as if I were hearing confession.
You won't tell your novice either?
I promise not to.
That's good enough for me. You're a righteous, noble man, and you deserve my complete trust. I'm aware that you had problems at court that led to the confrontation with Nazario.
Yes. I'm not looked on particularly well by the Emperor's advisors.
Which is precisely why Nazario's arrival fundamentally changed the situation at the Abbey. I must tell you everything I know.
Please do. Go right ahead.
Perhaps you think it's my destiny at this monastery to be a simple gardener. Then it will certainly come as a surprise to you that
You were supposed to be the abbot.
I was supposed to be the abbot. Hey? What? You knew?
In light of the relationship between the abbot and Segundo, it's not hard to imagine that, as is common practice at many abbeys, whoever holds the post of prior is going to be appointed abbot someday. I overheard a remark from Nicholas that you were once prior here, so the question arises... How did the current abbot obtain his position?
You're intelligent. You wouldn't be surprised if the person you trusted most betrayed you. But I didn't see it coming back then.
The abbot betrayed you?
Andres, that's his name. Although Judas would be more fitting, was my novice. I was responsible for his training and for having him enter this abbey. He's not a bad person at heart, but he comes from a very rich aristocratic family and always placed too much weight on appearances. Can you imagine having a novice like that?
I think I can vividly imagine what it's like.
His father was very close with the Emperor, so even though the appointments come from the Cardinal, it seems as if the Emperor himself had an interest in appointing him abbot. He, of course, wasn't content with that. No, he had to top it off by having me do a gardener's work.
But you didn't simply resign yourself to that, did you?
I couldn't fathom the whole situation. What interest could the Empire have in something like that? But shortly afterwards, new copyists arrived, young monks from many different countries. It was obvious that everything that was going on revolved around the library. So, I started looking into things here and there.
You didn't sneak into the library, did you?
No, that's impossible. Only the librarian has free access. But I was able to get a look at Andreas' office without being seen. I was trying to find proof that his election to the post as abbot wasn't proper, that dark interests were involved, something that would incriminate him and taint his aura of sanctity.
Something that would have permitted you to take on the position as abbot.
It wasn't a question of my ambition. It had to do with seeing justice done. There are many dark secrets at this abbey, too many that must be unveiled.
Did you find anything in the abbot's office?
You'll see. The abbot had several books on his desk that hadn't gone up to the library yet. They were strange books. They were...
Heretical books? Satanic?
Could be. 2 of them were written in foreign languages, and the third one in perfect Latin, by the way. Dealt with witchcraft.
But a book like that, in the hands of the copyists at a library...
Despite the care that is always taken at this abbey when working with parchment, don't let appearances deceive you one bit. Apart from the 5 or 6 monks who are fairly well educated, most of the members of this community can't read. First and foremost among them, the copyists.
Yes, I've visited quite a few libraries in the course of my travels where the monks didn't understand a word they copied. They merely tried hard to reproduce the shapes as best they could. But at an abbey like this...
Especially at one like this.
So what happened afterwards?
They caught me, red-handed. The abbot, Marcello, and Secundo came in at just the wrong moment. Someone said, "Brother Arcadio, have you lost your mind?" It occurred to me to react as if that were so.
And that's how they justified unjustifiable deeds.
Exactly. Taking my age into account and by pretending I had a screw loose, I realized that I could continue investigating or take a look at certain places in the monastery without arousing suspicion.
You fooled me completely. And that's not an easy thing to do.
When I was younger, I was very fond of the theatre. That was before my ordination.
You're a great actor. My friend Lope would be delighted with you.
Do you mean the playwright?
Do you know him?
I'm a great admirer of his. I've read several of his works in the library. He's a talented young man, though I've heard that he's in a situation which is, how shall I put it, very similar to yours?
My exile is voluntary, but it's a known fact that he was banished for 8 years upon pain of death if he returns.
Watch your step with Nazario, dear Leonardo. Day by day, power and gold are turning the world into a much darker place.
Were you able to find out anything new in relation to witchcraft in the course of your investigations?
You must keep an eye on Martin.
The cook?
Do you know another one? A few years ago, I discovered that in reality, he's a sorcerer.
I don't understand you.
A young servant who was standing fairly close to me, but must have thought I'm deaf, told another servant that the monk in charge of the kitchen told his fortune using a deck of tarot cards that had demonic symbols on the cards.
I'm not so sure about that. Do you have proof?
I saw the deck. I know he has that deck of cards. One day I went into the kitchen, played the mad monk, and saw it. He's a sorcerer.
I don't believe it, but I'll definitely look into it. Thank you very much for the information, Brother Arcadio. Your secret is safe with me.
And?
Well, you know Arcadio. He's a senile old man. Very little of what he says makes any sense.
Ah, right.
The envelope is sealed. I'm going to open it. Fine. I've managed to get my clothes soiled with the sealing wax, but this is the letter. Let's read it. To the Most Reverend Father Abbot of San Torquato, for perusal at his convenience. It is with great concern that I turn to you in order to detail the contents of the revelations I recently attained with regard to our brother Egidio, whom you most graciously placed in my service upon the occasion of my last visit to your abbey. Having witnessed the incident provoked by Egidio, it was my intention to follow the teachings of our Lord in all humility, by interceding on his behalf and requesting that he be transferred to Nuestra Señora de la Natividad. Only now do I comprehend the magnitude of my error. Instead of correcting his imperfections at our abbey through penitence, Egidio has worsened the situation further, comporting himself indolently and with little respect towards the authorities. I thus see myself obliged to ask you to re-accept our brother in your house, and to instruct him in complying with the rules of the order in a form you regard as most convenient to you. I am confident that the rod you apply to mete out discipline to him shall be as stalwart as our sacred oaths. Currently at Nuestra Señora de la Natividad, Segundo of Milan, Prior.
Brother Leonardo?
I wanted to ask you for a book.
I'm sorry, but I can't fetch any book from the library.
Why not?
I don't know. Brother Marcelo has forbidden me to go up there all morning long.
He must have some reason.
I do, Brother Leonardo. I do.
Fine. Then I'll ask you. I need a book on demonology. Something that deals with...
What?
I realize it's not a common request, but...
Did you say demonology?
You heard correctly.
No one in their right mind would ever dare to request a book like that.
No one?
No one.
Ever?
Martin did once.
And was properly admonished for it. Listen! I went along with the farce about the apprentice copyist because the abbot had asked you to clear up the circumstances surrounding Anselmo's death.
But now everything is in the hands of the Holy Inquisition.
Who says that the book I'm requesting has something to do with the mystery at this abbey?
In that case, the answer is simple. The class of literature is unauthorized without special permission from the abbot. I'm sorry, but I cannot do anything more for you.
So Martin is interested in forbidden books.
Right, but that's not what I said. All I said was that he requested a book like that once.
When was that?
I don't know, weeks ago, months. Gottfried was assistant librarian at the time.
Then how did you find out?
In a community this small, certain things are hard to keep quiet.
Do you know why Martin requested the book?
I assume for the same reason as you. Why do you want it?
Oh, out of pure curiosity.
Brother Leonardo, let's move away from these kinds of subjects. They're very dangerous and should not be broached lightly.
Are you familiar with the topic of esoterics?
I haven't always lived inside these walls. Life has led me to some very different places, some of them quite dark.
I'm listening.
As a child, I was apprenticed to a coin minter in my native city, Rotterdam.
And what, pray tell, is so dark about that?
When darkness fell, my master spent his time studying rather unorthodox methods of obtaining gold for the coins.
Alchemy?
It was more like invocating demons.
Oh.
Luckily for me, he didn't need apprentices for that. One night, the Inquisition came, and well, I had to look for other work.
I see.
That's why I advise you to look for other, less dangerous ways of indulging your inclinations.
Plenty of work to do?
Everything must go on, just as it does each and every day. Those are the abbot's words. Despite that, and I don't know why, Brother Marcello has had me stay down here all morning, and then I had to sweep out this hall as if I were Egidio.
So who benefits from these books, then?
I don't rightly know. They benefit me, but I have no access to the library. That is categorically forbidden.
Go on with what you're doing. I think I see something. A packet? What's it doing here? Let's see what's inside. Well, look at that. A deck of tarot cards. Why would Martin keep something like that? It deals with a deck of tarot cards. Just having one in your possession is equivalent to heresy. But wait a second. This card seems familiar. It's the pentagram. Hang on. Now that I'm looking at it closely, I see that there are certain differences from the one we saw yesterday. Martin?
Yes?
I found this deck of cards in the kitchen.
What? It doesn't belong to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm talking about a deck of cards, replete with pagan symbols. Among them, a strange-looking pentagram. It could very well be that you know something more about it than I. But as you tell me it's not yours, I can hand it over to the abbot. I'm sure that with his help, we'll be able to give it back to its owner. Thank you very much for your time, Martin.
No, please don't.
Pardon?
It's mine.
I know.
I'm pleading with you, brother. Don't say anything to the abbot. I swear to you, it's a gift.
You say this deck of cards is a gift?
Yes, that's how it is.
From your mother, I presume?
How did you find out?
That? Simple intuition. May I ask why your mother owned this deck of cards?
God have mercy on her. She was...
A witch?
She wasn't a witch. She used the deck of cards to tell people their futures. I know that's not a good thing to do, but she gave hope to many people who didn't have much hope anymore.
And was she good at it?
Telling the future? Well, she was often spot on.
What happened to her?
My father accused her of practicing witchcraft. He didn't want his only son to receive any kind of corruptive influence in his religious schooling. And, God, I don't know if it was the right thing to do, but after all, she was me mother.
That's a tragedy. I'm very sorry.
They burnt her at the stake together with all her possessions. What you have in your hands is all I was able to salvage. It's the only thing I have left of hers.
Do you know what that pentagram signifies?
I think it's a variation on the talisman of Saturn.
Saturn is one of the names the devil is known under.
That's true.
This talisman of Saturn you speak of, were there perhaps other symbols surrounding it?
Yes, that's right. How do you know that?
Please continue.
It's said that the talisman is identical to Lucifer himself. A sort of invocation for him to send one of his most destructive lackeys to spread chaos on Earth. Berserk.
This so-called Berserk is doing as he pleases here.
That's not quite right. Berserk himself can't do anything in this world if he doesn't inhabit a body to wreak havoc with.
In other words, by taking possession of someone.
Yes. I don't know if it's true or not, but those are things that ought not to be tried out.
Do you believe in all of this, Martin?
As Christians, we must believe in the existence of the devil, Brother Leonardo. The same way the personification of good exists in our Lord, the personification of bad and sin must exist as well. And that is the devil. Good can't do bad. Otherwise it would cease to be good.
Yes. I attended the seminary too. But let me ask you something about all this hocus-pocus. Do you believe that a simple mortal has the ability to make the gates to hell open themselves?
I leave the answers to questions like that to the scholars. I limit myself to keeping my hands well away from the lion's maw.
And yet, someone at this abbey has stuck their whole head inside. I must go now. All right, Martin. That was a rather interesting conversation. Here, I'm returning this to you. If you don't mind, I'd like to borrow this card, the Talisman of Saturn.
As you like, but please, don't say a word to anyone about the deck of cards.
My lips are sealed.
I thank you with all my heart. Thanks, Brother Leonardo.
Bells. I demand an explanation.
I hope that...
Relax, Martin. It's not about you.
Brother, as you are well aware, our abbey has been struck by great misfortune in the course of the last few days. Lucifer intends to take possession of these venerable walls. Yet, instead of taking measures to prevent that, there are some who insist on not seeing the presence of the devil amongst us. They thought that with time he would simply go away forevermore. We are all familiar with the sad consequences of that attitude. Luckily, that's all going to change now. Nazario of Milan, one of the most ferocious soldiers in the struggle against evil, has come to put an end to the deaths.
It's high time somebody does something about it, before all of us die. Is there a monk named Eladio of Thebes in this hall? Eladio of Thebes? He's not here. That confirms my suspicions.
What kind of evidence do you have for accusing Eladio?
Eladio of Thebes is a criminal. He has been on the wanted list for 2 years for stealing from a monastery in Tarragona. A very valuable relic from the 9th century was stolen. He was calling himself Eleutherius of Antioch at the time. He and his accomplice planned the whole thing well.
Accomplice?
Yes. A short, ugly monk. A translator.
Umberto! They came to the Abbey at the same time!
You see? There you have your killer, Father Abbot.
But they came with the best letters of recommendation.
All of them falsified, no doubt. Didn't you check their authenticity?
Being a thief doesn't automatically mean being a killer.
Oh, I don't? Brothers, I have seen Lucifer. He wears many masks, but he is always the same. The lust in taking pleasure in sin eats away bit by bit at the soul of the hapless wretch who lets himself be seduced by Lucifer, until the lust devours him completely. I have come to banish the devil from this abbey, and that is what I am going to do. There is only one way to put a stop to evil: by showing mercy for the soul and purging the body.
Another monk may die while your master amuses himself burning innocent people at the stake.
And you may be the next monk to die.
I've got to get into the hospital to understand what has happened to Eladio. Candle wax is melting now. We'll wait a moment. A wick from inside a candle. Martin?
I implore you, leave me be. I've helped you the best that I can, but if I talk with you, Nazario might find out about it. Once they start questioning me, I'm lost.
All right, I understand. Goodbye, Martin. No, they're a bit dented. That would be normal for other blacksmiths, but with Nicholas, that surprises me. As carefully and meticulously as he works, he would have taken care of that long ago. Hello, Nicholas.
Oh, hello!
Do you have a lot of work to do?
I'm sorry, but this time I can't make any keys for you.
I haven't come to request your services.
Fabulous! Then excuse me, and I beg you to please let me get on with my work. I'm very busy, and I don't want any problems.
What you've just finished saying offends me, Nicholas.
Please leave the smithy.
I see you've taken on the attitude of the Inquisitor. Are those the problems you're referring to? That you don't want to be seen talking to me?
Brother Leonardo, I don't want to be accused of having helped you, so please, here's your compass. Take it.
Oh, no. Quid pro quo, Nicholas.
I'm just a humble blacksmith. With the compass in my possession, I'm...
A potential accomplice? To my knowledge, no one has accused me of anything.
Take it!
It's yours, Nicholas. In all seriousness. Keep it, or do whatever you please with it. But it's not mine anymore.
I'm sorry, but there you are. It's all yours.
I've got to get into the hospital to understand what has happened to Eladio. Excellent. There is powder on the lock. No. A candle wick. It's dry. It's not going to burn like this. I'd have to soak it in alcohol. But naturally, the only place at the Abbey where you can find alcohol is exactly where I want to get into. The wine will flow out. I should catch the wine in a receptacle. Full. Now I can soak the wick in it. The wick has been soaked in wine. We did it! All right, leave the candle burning. Perfect. A small explosion, but enough to blast the lock apart. Can you spare a moment, Egidio?
No, but that won't stop you from asking whatever you want to.
I want you to open Umberto's cell for me.
What? I can't do that. I can't.
But you're still the gatekeeper, aren't you?
And you're not the official investigator anymore, are you?
Egidio, this is only about opening a door. You've done it often enough.
Not while the Holy Inquisition was busy searching the cell next door.
Come, let's go.
Don't you understand? We have been ordered not to help you in any way because your work here is done. The order was crystal clear.
It could have been that the abbot meant...
Abbot? Who said a word about the abbot? They're orders from Nazario of Milan.
Is that right? I don't think it's important. You know what it says in this letter?
No, how should I know? I'm not a fortune teller.
You shouldn't be so rude, Egidio.
And you should leave me in peace. The Inquisitor doesn't want us to talk to you.
You and I are going to have a little chat.
Well, if you can't tell me how to sweep up all of this while I sleep away the afternoon nap, then I'm not interested in anything you feel you have to tell me.
Nonetheless, I think you'd find the contents of this letter very interesting.
What's that to me?
You don't know how to read, do you?
According to the Bible, that's not a sin.
How do you know that if you can't read? Is it all the same to you?
Why should it interest me what the letter says?
You've seen it before, haven't you?
No, I don't know what you mean.
Let me refresh your memory a bit. To the most reverend Father Abbot of San Torquato, for perusal at his convenience.
That's enough. Don't read any more.
So you used to live in San Torquato?
Yes, I spent my childhood there. Well, actually, I spent a lot of time there. Got out whenever I could.
I see that it's not easy for you to follow the rules.
And why should I? Why can they do what they want and I can't?
They?
Yes, them. The ones with power. The ones that rule the world.
If you didn't like it, then why did you return to the Abbey?
What else could someone like me do? And besides, after what happened...
Why did Segundo want to expel you from the Abbey?
My punishment wouldn't have been to expel me from here. Mine would have been to send me back to San Torquato. Believe you me, if suffering takes us closer to heaven, then San Torquato is full of saints.
I get the point.
I don't. Why did Segundo write that letter?
By blackmailing him, Segundo can be certain that Egidio will do his bidding.
Ah, the way you're doing it.
Shut up, Bruno. What incident does this letter refer to?
It was 4 Lent seasons ago. The cook at San Torquato caught me breaking the rule to fast. I had planned to get away, but they caught me. After I'd spent the night locked up in the stables, Prior arranged for me to have a cavalry of my own. But just when he was about to start cracking the whip, I turned around and shoved him so that I could escape. As he fell, the prior hit the back of his head and died. Segundo was there for a visit and saw it all. He was the only witness. He told everyone that it was an accident and suggested to the abbot that he should send me to the abbey here to do his bidding. That's how I became his personal tattletale. I was supposed to tell him about anything I heard, especially about things that had to do with the abbot.
Interesting. Are you going to help me now and open Umberto's cell? Well, are you?
And what about the letter?
It can't be said that this paper is of any quality. It could easily be damaged, even go up in flames. Do you see what I'm driving at?
I get it. I get the point.
If that's the case, then we should get going, shouldn't we?
What other choice did I have? But now, give me the letter.
All right.
You can go in if you like. Now give me the cursed letter.
Don't worry. The past doesn't interest me in the least. After all, we all have things we'd rather forget.
What are we looking for, Master?
I don't know yet, Bruno. Come, Bruno. Help me move the bed. There's something underneath it. The gap is too small for me to put my hand through. The gap is too small for me to... A good idea, but the crucifix alone won't be enough to get what's inside the gap. My beloved compass. I think it's going to hurt me almost as much as it hurts you. All right. After all, it's for the good of the investigation. It's completely ruined and can't be fixed. The only thing that's not broken is the magnet. Now the crucifix is stuck to the magnet. Which all goes to show that a compass is not just for finding north.
Do you think that Eladio killed Umberto?
It might indicate why your doctor fled.
If all this has been clarified, then why did he come here?
Let me remind you that Umberto's death wasn't the only one, Father.
Oh, so Eladio is the killer we're searching for.
I fully grasp your desire to learn the truth, Father. I promise you that by sunrise, all your questions shall be answered.
How did you know that the key belongs to the cabinet?
Remember what you heard in the chapter hall. Eladio and Umberto were accomplices. Making a connection between the key and this cabinet would therefore be a logical conclusion, don't you think? Let's see what this piece of paper reveals to us.
What does it say?
It's the translation of a page from a book. Do you recall having seen a book recently from which a page had been torn out?
The one we saw in the library?
Precisely. Your book. The same one you brought as a gift from your father to the Order. And the same one our killer took along with him from the library archives.
And how do you know that it's a translation from my book?
Oh, I simply draw my conclusions. Everything seems to indicate that the killer tore out the sheet of paper to have it translated. But when he saw what was written on it, Umberto decided not to hand over the translation to our killer. In light of Umberto's refusal, and driven by uncontrollable fury, the killer decided it would be best to strangle Umberto and look for the page on his own, which he was unable to locate, as we see.
Why did Umberto give him the translation?
He was probably terrified by the consequences something like this might provoke. It's one thing to have been a thief, but it's quite another to be indifferent to the possibility of exterminating humanity. Listen, the conjurer must take into account that Berserk will not be content with merely entering our world, but that he would moreover take possession of that person's body in order to spread chaos. Sound familiar?
Oh.
Now we know why Umberto had to die. Let's take a look at that chest. It's unthinkable that the gift from the Count of Capranegra should have anything to do with this case. Yet judging by the translation of one of its pages, it does. A very disturbing page. That's certain. Let's see. Impossible. It's locked. Let's go, Bruno.
Where to?
To see Nicholas. He's the only one here who's able to open the chest. I'm going to try to convince him to do it.
Open the chest? What for? The best thing would be to hand it over to the Holy Inquisition. We've already broken enough rules in the last few days. I don't want to be caught red-handed with a chest full of stolen valuables.
It could be that there's something in this chest that throws some light on the identity of our killer.
I don't think so.
Do you think anyone cares what you think? I told you to follow me. That's all there is to it.
No.
Bruno, you're about to earn a few strokes of the lash.
No, we've come this far, but not one step further. I've had enough of doing things that are rewarded by spending an eternity in hell. I want to go to heaven, Leonardo.
I beg your pardon? Did you just call me Leonardo?
Yes, I did. You've stopped being my master. A master doesn't force his novices to dig up dead people or be an accomplice to stealing a relic that the Holy Inquisition is after.
Isn't it clear to you that we're doing all this to get to the bottom of the truth?
To get to the bottom of the truth or to satisfy your ego? Everyone says you're a very wise monk, but as a monk you haven't devoted 1 second to prayer, and as a wise man it seems to be much more important to you to put your talent on display than to serve God.
All right. As I've stopped being your master according to your own words, from now on you'll have to fend for yourself, Bruno.
I will.
What disappoints me thereby? What really disappoints me is that you haven't learned a thing in the process. Not one thing. Oh, yes. Stay right where you are, weeping like a little boy. If none of all this has matured you, nothing in the world is going to make you grow up.
Is desecrating graves part of becoming mature?
I promised your father that I'd make a man out of you. Come, Bruno, follow me. It's your last chance.
I won't do it.
As you like. Even if all I did for you was in vain. At least that won't be the case with this investigation. Goodbye, Bruno. A message on the stained scrap of paper. It says, "Come to the refectory." Oh my God! Nicholas!
I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be here.
Do you need help, boy?
I'd need Eladio's help to corroborate this, but I believe he's been poisoned.
Well, well, well. What have we here?
Good heavens, Nicholas! Brother Leonardo, tell me right away what...
I'll explain it to you. Father Abbot, there is your killer.
What?
He conspired with his accomplice, Eladio of Thebes, to steal the cross of San Remigio and do away with any monk who crossed his path.
That's not true.
Ah, my poor novice. How easy it is to draw the tangled thread of a lie into the innocent minds of children.
But I was at his side the whole time.
Of course. You were there when he poisoned Umberto, weren't you?
Bruno, don't listen to him. You know.
The atrocities you were forced to witness, and perhaps commit as well. Isn't that how it was? Sinners who don't confess go to hell, my dear Bruno. To the eternal torment of hell. Tell me, Bruno, have you sinned?
He told me that it wasn't bad, that it was in order to find the killer. I didn't want to. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned.
There, my son. It's over and done with now. Leonardo de Toledo, I accuse you of murdering Umberto of Lyon, Godfried of Trentino, and Nicholas of York, and furthermore of being an accomplice to the death of Anselmo of France, as well as to the theft of the cross of San Remigio.
That's insane, Nazario. You can't accuse me without evidence.
Then I shall seek the evidence. We shall see. If I'm not mistaken, and I never am, this contains the potent venom with which you poisoned Umberto. And surely Nicholas too, just a short time ago.
That's not true. Nicholas was already dead when I got there.
Pray tell, why would Brother Leonardo want to kill 4 monks?
What is that? A tarot card? There you have your motive, Father Abbot. Heresy!
Yes, it's similar to the coloured drawing in the library.
You killed 4 monks as a sacrificial offering to the devil, and stole the cross together with your accomplices.
You don't understand the slightest thing. You're not even familiar with the facts.
I understand those of your bent only too well. Servants of Beelzebub, eager to destroy peace, to sow the seeds of chaos and annihilate the souls of righteous men. Oh, yes. I have seen many like you.
If I were a servant of the devil, I wouldn't be a monk. I'd be an inquisitor.
I have waited a long time for this. And now I have finally unmasked you. This very night we shall free his soul from the dungeon of sin. Prepare the pyre. Leonardo de Toledo, this court of justice has found you guilty of murder and theft. As monk and a servant of God, you have not only allied yourself with the devil, you have also attempted to corrupt the innocent soul of a boy who is destined to serve our Lord. You have incited the child to act as your accomplice in the course of all of your repugnant deeds. The boy's confession saved him. As for you, only the flames can save your soul. Have you anything to say on your behalf?
You're going to burn an innocent man at the stake.
They all say the same when bound to this stake, and with death facing them, Leonardo.
I'm merely telling the truth. God have mercy. You know that I'm innocent, and if you set me free, I'll bring you the real killer.
Of course you will. And the mysterious, diabolical killer will be free to take your place at the stake, won't he?
What did you say?
You'll accuse the first person who comes to mind. I don't intend to allow an innocent man to pay for your crimes.
But I can tell you now who the killer is.
Listen to the words of a condemned soul, brothers. Hear how he proclaims his innocence after having made a pact with Beelzebub. Remember that the devil deceives. Recall that the Holy Scriptures command us to stay far from temptation. Recall that.
Nazario of Milan. I am innocent. Curse you and all you stand for. I'm innocent.
No one who ends up where you are is innocent, Leonardo.
You've always wanted to see me here, and now you've finally achieved that. But you're wrong. I haven't done a thing, and I know who the killer is.
Is that right? And why should I believe the lies of a deceitful heretic? Guards, The torch.
You'll burn eternally in hell for this.
Though the only one who's going to burn today is you.
It's said that the Dominicans are the dogs of God, but you're the devil's vulture.
We are condemning your body to save your soul. This shall serve as an example to all those who resolve to turn their backs on God and heed the call of evil. Poor Leonardo. First he fell out of grace with the Emperor. Now he squandered the grace of God.
One day you'll pay for your crimes.
You can talk as much as you want before your tongue feeds the flames. Farewell, Leonardo. Receive the flame of eternal purification.
No, he's innocent.
Hey, heretic! Are you getting hot? Now comes the worst part. I don't want to watch that. You're right. You never get used to it, do you?
Oh, God.
So that's how I squandered the grace of God, hmm?
Master? I'm so sorry. I thought you had some kind of contact with the devil. You made me desecrate things, and...
It was not desecration. We were searching for the truth.
I see that now, Master.
It was your fault that I nearly died. God help us. What made you think of accusing me? What the devil gave you such ideas?
I was scared. Nazario. He frightened me, and I...
Frightened? Have I ever taught you to fear telling the truth?
No. I learnt enough about that from my father.
Nor were you taught to weep like a little boy. Why are you crying? Because you received a few deserved strokes of the lash?
No, because... No. Please, don't leave me here alone.
Will you stand by me, no matter what? Because you can rest assured that you are going to see a monstrous demon. Are you ready to follow me to the bitter end?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, Master.
Good. We're off, Bruno.
Where are we going?
We're going to finish this once and for all. The final hour has come. Bruno, stay near the doorway. It would be better.
If you say so, Master.
Thomas?
Huh? Well, Brother Leonardo de Toledo. I thought by this stage you'd already be burning in the flames of hell.
Well, it's true that I was about to be burnt at the stake. I assumed that would have been sufficient for you.
Now, true. I admit I would have found that agreeable.
That way the culprit would have been found and eliminated by the Holy Inquisition. Everything would have gone back to normal and you could have carried on with your plans.
Let's not beat around the bush, Leonardo. Do you really believe that? I'd have thought you were much more intelligent. Do you think it bothers me if the truth comes to light? Not anymore. At this stage, there's no turning back.
Are you saying you're going to carry out the invocation to the end? Is that the last step?
It's already been done. After you were arrested, I set to work on the translation. I followed the instructions to the letter. I have the book, the pentagram, and the elements. I spent years searching desperately for them until I spied them here at this library. I knew that the book would end up here sooner or later, and that I'd find it. I settled down here and waited 16 long years.
Until Bruno and I appeared with the book. What about the book?
It belonged to my father. He was a genius. He knew a great deal about alchemy and the occult arts. A long time ago, a story was told that the few copies of this book in existence that had belonged to a sect of heretics had been destroyed. But evil never allows itself to be wiped out completely. My father got hold of fragments that had survived, and then reconstructed the book through the research he did. But in the end, it all came to naught, due to the Inquisition and Nazario of Milan.
Yes, I remember that story because it had something to do with my departure from the Emperor's court. I never understood why Nazario and the Emperor were so possessed by heretical books, until I realized what was being hatched in this library.
You're not to blame. You're merely another victim of a hoax they've been carrying on with for years.
Power corrupts not only the nobility, it even takes hold of our own members of the church. The Emperor believed that he could use his entire knowledge of heresy to his advantage. Satanic books, diabolical rituals, alchemy. To all intents and purposes, every book found in all of Christianity was burnt in the bonfires. But with Nazario as an ally, in reality, they were sent here, translated and archived. If I presume correctly, in the insane hope that they would serve his interests.
Of course. Can you imagine an army of immortal demons? Spells that can transform good, pious people into little more than brute animals? That's too much power to leave in the hands of people with such limited minds like the Emperor or Nazario. It's the right of the gifted, like me. We have the right to make use of them.
No one has the right to commit abominable deeds like the ones which have occurred here over the last few days.
Would it give you some kind of satisfaction to tell me my sins to my face?
Wasn't Gottfried aware that you intended to take his place?
That mentally retarded oaf? A fool like him should never have been allowed to become assistant librarian in the first place. No, he thought occultism was merely an innocent game. I think he never believed in the power of Satan. He never feared him or paid him the respect we have for him.
That's why he secretly lent Anselmo books, didn't he?
Anselmo was insolent. He never accepted his lot at the Abbey. He was preoccupied with constantly improving himself and getting ahead, nothing else. That's why he was punished, and despite his experience as a copyist, he was demoted to gatekeeper.
There is something almost comical about giving all the keys to the Abbey, in other words, those that enable you to leave the edificium and enter the library too, to the one person who had the most interest in the library's secrets. Apart from you, of course.
Yes, of course. I've had my eyes on those books since I arrived here. Did they really think I wouldn't notice what's going on here? That I wouldn't associate the sounds at night in the edificium with the rumors of phantasmagoric apparitions in the library?
And you blackmailed Gottfried with accusing him in front of the abbot if he refused to give you the books.
Yes, he let me leaf through some ancient manuscripts in which the architects of the Abbey illustrated how to move around in the secret passages. Learning that brought me enormous satisfaction. Even though Gottfried was too much of a coward to allow me access to the upper floors, I was able to study the secret index, and he brought me any volume I desired into the scriptorium. When you appeared, and I heard that this book was finally going to be catalogued, I thought that my quest would soon be over and done with.
It was precisely my arrival and the abbot's request to investigate Anselmo's death that interrupted your activities. Gottfried was afraid of being caught and destroyed the evidence. The parchment from the crypt was safe, even though he wasn't able to get it out of Anselmo's desk. He didn't have the key, so he assumed that no one else would get their hands on it either. But the illustration that provided access to the library, I must admit it was quite clever to hide the sheet of paper in Anselmo's grave. No monk would have dared to do, yes, well, what I did. A very intelligent move on his part.
Intelligent? Gottfried? He surely hid it there because no other place occurred to him. Or because he did it that night when we...
If I've learned one thing, it's never to underestimate someone's intelligence. It's sufficiently clear that on the night when he was alone with you in the cemetery, he prepared everything he did in the event that you might kill him, with an alibi and no witnesses.
I thought he would give me the book. Instead, I found him stuttering and trembling with fear, because Brother Leonardo was going to discover his secret, and he would be excommunicated. A whimpering coward!
And with one of Egidio's shovels, in a moment of anger, you killed him.
It wasn't anger, Leonardo. Don't insult me. I was well aware that Marcello favoured me enough to make me Godfrey's successor once he was no longer there.
I know, but the way you did away with him. You dragged him across the cemetery and hid him in the cemetery chapel. You knew we'd find him the next day, yet even that didn't matter to you.
I beg your pardon, but you're not as smart as you think. You're not capable of grasping my plan down to the last minute detail. I didn't care what would happen with Godfrey's body. I thought that by obtaining access to the library, I would get access to the book. And once I had the sorcerer's spell in my hands, nothing else would have been important anyway.
You were the one who received Anselmo's parchment, the one that Godfrey had stolen from our room, weren't you?
I think the moment that truly terrified Godfrey was when he saw that only one day after your arrival, you were already able to open Anselmo's desk and get hold of the parchment which could incriminate him. That's why he broke into your room and stole it from you. I took it away from him at the cemetery and intended to destroy it.
Once you established that you weren't able to read the invocation spell without the help of a translator, you gave it to Umberto so that he could sneak out of the edificium that night.
Umberto's vice was greed. I offered him a solid sum of money for the translation, confidentially.
I presume he refused to give you the parchment as soon as he grasped the meaning of what he had translated.
Phooey! His cowardliness was probably even greater than his greed. Umberto told me that he wouldn't give me the translation under any circumstances, but I knew he wasn't stupid, that he wouldn't destroy anything of value, which meant he had to keep it hidden in a secret place. I strangled him with my belt sash.
That's what I thought. You weren't wearing the sash that afternoon. I presume your anger got the better of you again.
Aren't you listening to me? I'm not easily angered. It was all part of my plan. He had health problems, something to do with his vagus nerve, and asphyxiated quickly. It hardly left a mark.
With health problems like that, he must have gone to the Abbey's doctor often. To my friend Eladio. Perhaps that's how the two of them developed such a close relationship.
They already knew each other. They always kept up a peculiar form of camaraderie. They were thick as thieves, but never seemed to be friends. When Nazario told me of his past at the tribunal, I realized that the translation would be there, in the hospital.
All right, so much for the translation. What about the book?
I searched Umberto's workplace with a fine-toothed comb, but there wasn't much time. I didn't find the translation there, so I went away with the book in my hand. Marcello saw me. That left me with no other choice than to hide it. I mixed it in with the other tomes on my desk, then went up to the library to give them all back. The book would be safe there until nightfall.
I see. Because you needed the book, too. The translation alone wasn't enough. I can't imagine that Umberto hadn't copied Saturn's pentagram, a necessary part of the invocation.
Umberto was a translator, not a copyist. It was easier to use the drawing from the book and read the translation from Umberto's parchment out loud. That's why I went to the library that night, to get the book again.
Yet you were so impatient to see if the drawing would do what it's supposed to do, that you had to try it out in the library right away? What kind of sense does that make?
Why not? Was there a better place? No one could see me, except perhaps some monk who had to go out at night because he had fallen ill. Otherwise, no one could go up there and come into the library.
Aha! But you hadn't reckoned with Bruno and me. You were so beside yourself when you heard us that you tore the page with the pentagram out of the book and fled. You left everything else behind the way it was, including the book.
I see it gives you great satisfaction to interfere with my plans.
It looks like my interference bothered you enough for you to make a mistake.
What?
Once we found the pentagram in the library, I knew it was you. Only 2 brothers had access to those rooms at the time, and only one of them, to put it in a nutshell, displayed a great interest in occultism.
Aha! In other words, it couldn't have been anyone else who had the key. You, for example.
It could have been, but when Nazario accused me at the tribunal and found the tarot card, you couldn't stop yourself from pouring more oil into the flames in order to get me out of the way and get your hands on the translation again. You had to open your mouth. You called out that the picture on the card was similar to the drawing in the library. But at that point in time, you wouldn't have been permitted to have any more access to the library, because the Inquisition had forbidden it.
But
You didn't give it any thought. It was impulsive, and it was a mistake.
no!
For my part, I held you for a weak suspect, simply unable to do something like that. I didn't understand how someone like you, educated, calm, seemingly rational, could commit murders of such obviously uncontrollable wrath. When I questioned you, I couldn't find any trace of nervousness, of the normal reaction someone shows who has a guilty conscience or something to hide. I merely found you a bit peculiar. It seemed as if the consequences of what happened weren't important to you, as if they had nothing to do with you, as if someone else had committed the murders.
You're not getting the point, Leonardo. I've already told you, it was all part of a master plan to...
Don't make me laugh. A plan? Splitting open someone's head who could help you to get what you wanted? To suddenly throttle the only one who could translate what you had waited for years? Nazario was right, and I couldn't see it at the time. We mustn't look for a methodical killer here. We're looking for a quick-tempered demon who is taking his place.
It was all because of the book. I had to have the book.
It's ironic that a single volume, a book so valuable and dangerous at the same time, is supposed to have caused all these incidents. And that of all people, we were the ones who brought the book with us. It was in our hands for so long, but we weren't aware of what it dealt with.
Yes.
If I could only read Sumeric.
Oh, come on, Leonardo. With the knowledge your limited intellect possesses, how far do you think you're going to get? All you have is a weak human mind.
Be that as it may, it's a healthy mind.
What are you implying?
Oh, come on, Thomas. Don't you listen to your own words? Do you think that the work of a copyist in the library, the meticulous and painstaking care taken for our culture, the intelligent planning over years to obtain a coveted object, granted all traits of a normal human being, are compatible with the brutal, violent person who murders his own brothers?
No. Yes! I mean no!
I'll tell you what I think. You're sick. Your mind doesn't function. You have abandoned the path of our Lord in favor of a superstitious belief in things that are stupid and senseless. And all because your imagination tells you they'll give you power.
I'll free myself. You'll see. I'm going to finish the invocation, and you'll all see.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Hear me, O my Lord Satan. Speak the 7 words of invocation. Free your slave. Sobek, Sekhmet.
Free you? It's your sickness that has set your mind free, that eats you up bit by bit. I presume you've appeared out of thin air now and then, haven't you? That's why Gottfried was so afraid of you.
Berserk must come. He must take hold of me. Sokar, Selket.
Do you want to invoke a demon, Thomas? You don't need any sorcery for that. You're already possessed by the demon of madness.
No!
What? Stop! Stop! You fool!
Mut, Nut, free me! Ha 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 ha! Berserk is here! Ha 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 ha!
Fire! Fire!
You won't get away, you murderer!
You dare to put yourself in the path of a powerful demon, you insolent boy?
Not you. You're not a demon. You're a madman.
Then die!
I don't see any clues. That's the talisman of Saturn.
Brother Thomas, you're not yourself! Let the boy go! Immediately!
I'm not Thomas anymore. As Thomas, I can merely kill them one after another. I am berserk now. I'll take all of you with me. Together with me, you'll learn what hellfire is.
Thomas?
Huh?
As you like fire so much, let's see what it does to the book you've set your heart on.
No! No! Ah!
What a horrible death!
That was the last in a series of macabre deeds. But they're finally over with now.
What the devil is this?
Master?
I don't know what satanic power enabled you to escape from burning at the stake, but I'll make sure it doesn't happen again.
No, he's innocent. I saw the whole thing.
We all saw it, Nazario. Didn't you hear the words that leapt out of Thomas's mouth? He's your killer! He is responsible for the murders!
Do you believe that, Brother Marcello?
Come, my esteemed abbot. Faith cannot be placed in one who has been possessed by the devil. Thomas was possessed by evil, and evil always attempts to deceive us with fallacies and lies.
And without a doubt, this is a major deception. Thomas cannot be guilty of Anselmo's death. We all know that he wasn't at the Abbey at the time of death.
That's bad news for you, isn't it?
I beg your pardon?
Speak clearly, Brother Leonardo.
I'd be glad to. If I were him, if your community were to accept that Thomas had killed Anselmo, that would let you off the hook completely.
Are you insinuating that I...
Brothers, Secundo was the one who cut the rope to the censer that killed Anselmo.
Me? Me? But why should I do away with Anselmo?
It's true that you had no motive for doing away with Anselmo. But Anselmo wasn't alone.
What?
You planned it carefully. You knew the abbot frequently took walks to the crypt and back. One day, the rope holding the censer would break, and the abbot would be the victim of a tragic accident. Wasn't that the plan? So you used one of Nicholas's tools, a pair of hedge clippers for Arcadio, who had ordered them and never received them. You went to work on slitting through the rope, but it was stronger than you had thought. The clippers were damaged, and it took you a few seconds longer to cut clean through. As a consequence, the abbot was able to step back in time, and that fatal coincidence led to the censer falling on poor Anselmo.
You have no proof. No proof at all.
But you also knew that Nicholas is very conscientious. It didn't take long for him to notice the clippers were missing, and you couldn't put them back where they came from. At least, not until you had repaired the damage. So you sent Nicholas off to get charcoal outside the Abbey. Now that Nicholas was gone after some makeshift repairs, you put them back in their place. But as you were coming out of the smithy, I spotted you.
That is a lie. What a huge falsehood.
No, it's true. Segundo didn't fix the clippers. He had me do the work. Now I understand why he wanted to keep it a big secret.
Now you'll believe what Egidio says too? When he has told you his story, you'll see that you cannot put any faith in him. He and Leonardo are accomplices.
Leonardo, please continue.
With the greatest of pleasure, Father. Segundo logically would have been the next in line to become abbot. We mustn't forget that he has very influential friends. In said position, with the languages he's mastered, under the protection of that self-same Nazario with the knowledge that the library contains, I don't know the limits of his ambition, but it would have been easy for him to attain a cardinal's mitre. And from there, it's only one step to the Holy See.
A pack of lies! This is ridiculous!
And believe me, It wouldn't have bothered him a bit to do away with anyone who stood in his way, even if the situation had dealt with one of his masters.
Keep talking.
Once your plan failed and the abbot commissioned me with the investigation here, you applied pressure so that Nazario would come as soon as possible. Because you knew he would try to get me out of the picture. What you weren't aware of is that Nicholas guessed what had happened to the Clippers. He found it strange that of all days, you had chosen that one to send him out to get charcoal for no reason at all. The barrel of charcoal at the entrance to the smithy is still sealed, because Nicholas still has his old one, which is almost full.
That's true.
What's more, we know that on several occasions Nicholas had advised you to replace the rope holding the censer with a chain, for greater safety. You turned him down time and again. Nicholas drew his own conclusions from that and became suspicious of you.
Yes, Nicholas came to me last night and asked if he could talk with me. He wanted to warn me about a person whom I trust. But in light of the course events had taken, I thought he meant you, Brother Leonardo.
No. Nicholas suspected that Segundo had something to do with Anselmo's death. Segundo realized that, so he decided to do something about it. If he were able to kill Nicholas and have the blame placed on me, the blacksmith would have been silenced, Segundo would have been rid of me, and what's even better, Nazario would have thought that much better of him. Once I was out of the game, he could have killed the abbot and accused Nazario of negligence and incompetence for not finding the culprit. Perhaps these are all merely presumptions. Handing over the wrong culprit to the emperor, taking Nazario's place, and who knows what else.
Aha. Have you any proof?
I have some. After Vespers, Segundo brought me a glass and a piece of parchment. Then he instructed me to get rid of them. But here they are, Reverend Abbot.
A glass of aconite and the prescription from Eladio, made out to Segundo's name and signed by him. Quite an eloquent twist, I'd say.
I beg you, most illustrious Reverend. Are you going to believe these heresies? This is ridiculous. We should be passing judgment on him for heresy and condemn him.
Brother Segundo, you shall be banned from this abbey, and I am going to personally request that you be excommunicated.
You can't do that. Are you really going to believe some stranger? After all the things we've done together for this monastery.
Yes, you've done excellent work. That's how you allowed two thieves like Umberto and Eladio to join our abbey and steal the treasures of the fathers before us. Envy, lust, and pride have grown within these walls, and you were incapable of recognizing the seeds of the devil that had taken possession of Thomas. Yes, you truly did your work well.
You have fallen out of favor, Segundo. The Imperial Guards shall attend to you.
As for you, Nazario, your work is done here too.
But the devil?
Nothing remains to be clarified. The man who requested the help of the Holy Inquisition is one of the culprits. A justified reason for your presence here no longer exists. I'm sure it will be of greater use elsewhere. Do not be blinded when you seek the devil in another's house, and watch out that he doesn't enter yours.
You'll hear from me, Leonardo. And it won't be pleasant news. Believe me.
I believe you.
Get going.
Thank you very much, Leonardo. Without your wisdom, we would never have found out the truth.
I regret that they had to be such terrible truths, Father.
Will you tell us someday how you managed to escape from being burnt at the stake?
I've already told you. It was with God's help.
I'm not familiar with Nazario in your past, but I fear that your future with him is probably going to look rather dark. Take care of yourself.
Don't trouble yourself. I will.
Master?
Bruno. The time has come for us to part. We've come all this way together.
I...
Learn as much as you can. When you've become a great monk, I'll come back and give you the 40 lashes of the whip I still owe you.
I'm going to miss you, Master. Where are you off to now?
I think it's time to return to the Emperor's court. It may turn out to be dangerous, but there's a time when I must face my past. The events here have given me food for thought, and I think it was wrong to have gone away back then.
What do you mean by that?
Someone has to keep an eye on the Emperor's craving for power. What has happened here was merely a warning from our Lord. It pointed out to us what can happen if the Emperor fails to watch out and acts rashly.
Wise words, brother. Go in peace, and count on my support.
I'll do that. I'm going to speak with the brothers of my order and, oh well, with the Empress too, if it's necessary.
I wish you luck. You'll need it.
And on the journey there, who knows? Perhaps I'll write my memoirs.
What?
Don't worry, Father. I don't think that anyone would read them.
Peace.
Peace, brothers.